What I'm about to say might shock some of you, it might offend some of you, but it's the truth. You ruined MMOs. It's not the developers, it's not corporate greed. Now, don't get me wrong. Do they play a role in ruining the experience or lessening the experience? Yes, sometimes. But are they actually the massive problem behind a lot of the complaints that we see today? No. I think a lot of it is actually from listening to you. This is one of those situations where listening to the consumer is actually a bad thing. Now, a lot of the time it's not the case, and I'm not saying that this happens every single time. I think that sometimes the community asks for things and they are good and they should be added. However, there are also a lot of things where people are going, why don't we do this? And why don't we do that? And why won't they give us this? And then when they finally go, fine, we don't think you guys want that. We don't think it's a good investment of our time and resources, but we'll do it. And then they do it, and it makes the experience worse because it is a short-term gain, but a long-term pain to your experience in the game. Now, before we get into anything, let's think back to the glory days, the MMO glory days. So, 10 years ago or so, everybody loved MMOs. They think that's the prime thing. They think all the games just are not as good as those now. They're just missing that story or what encapsulates. No, the stories today, the systems today, the features today, in a lot of ways are better. They're more advanced. The graphics, the everything, they're capable of so much more. It's not that you're missing. They've watered everything down. They've made everything easier. They made everything faster. They've added so much more solo content to MMOs, and it's because you asked for it. You wanted more solo content. You wanted it to be faster to get here. You wanted it to be quicker to level. You wanted it to be easier to get those special items at the end, and then you don't feel good when you get it. You wanted everything to be easier and faster, and now that it is, you complain about it. You don't like it. There's not enough content. It doesn't feel as good. Look, we all know this is human biology. That effort to chase something makes the reward feel better, but we're removing the effort. So now when you hit max level, who cares? Everybody can. It's super easy. It's super fast. Doesn't take any time. Now, when you get that special item or you defeat that boss at the end of a dungeon or a raid, whatever. Who cares? Didn't take effort. Didn't really take any time. Nothing like that. When you go and run that thing, it's not because you had to form this group and work together with your new friends or guild mates. No, you just LFR it. Just jump into a random raid with a bunch of randoms. Nobody has to do any of the mechanics. Actually put an effort, skill, get used to things. No. Skip all of that. Skip all of that. Oh, wow, it doesn't feel as good. It doesn't. Wow, this isn't as enjoyable. I remember back in the day, you ask them to remove it all. People are now like, they complain about the grind. The games are grindy. Is it a grindy game? Let's use New World as an example. The issue is not with the fact that it is a grind and things take time and effort. It is that if they are unenjoyable grinds, which New World was at the beginning, all you could do was chest runs. You didn't run expeditions, aka dungeons. All you did was group up, run around the world, open chests. It was terrible. And rightfully so, people hated that aspect. It was a grind and it was a boring grind. But let's say they had it today where you can get PvP this and open world that and bosses here and dungeons there, 8 different dungeons, all of this different content. All of a sudden, it's not as monotonous. That grind isn't as bad because you're doing little fun things. You're changing it up. It's not the same thing, same boring thing over and over and over. So I will say that yes, grinding can be bad, but when New World responds by people saying your game's too grindy, your game's too grindy, by just removing the grind, now you can just hit max level, you can get the max gear score easily, fast, doesn't require much effort or energy, that's not making their game better. It's not. People are going to get bored faster. New World is on this up, down thing, which a lot of games do, but it's a very short peak before it drops because they've removed the grind. It is instant you're at the end, instant you're done. That is not good for these games. In the same vein, it's not just about the fact that you need that grind, but the grind needs to be enjoyable and rewarding. Again, going back to dopamine, basic human circuitry. If you are occasionally getting that little hit, it makes you want to play more. It makes you enjoy it. Think of Diablo, right? Diablo 4. One of the big issues with it, which everybody recognizes, is itemization. Once you got up to like level 70-ish, leveling slowed down dramatically, so you weren't getting those little dopamine hits and more skill points and whatnot, but you also weren't getting items that actually increase your power regularly enough to make up for it. You could go hours and hours and hours of playing, not gaining a level, not getting the item that made you feel something fuzzy inside. That's a problem. So Again, these are things developers could improve. It's not all you guys, but you guys want things to be faster. You want things to be quicker, and then they have to try to balance those things. So, okay, well, if you're gaining this stuff really fast, we can't make everything this monumental, huge thing because then it waters down those dopamine hits. It's a balancing act that they're making, but we need those things. We need the little dopamine hits, and I think that should come in all MMOs and in all games in general. And this always comes down to then people coming out saying, what about the casuals? I'm casual. I can't... If you're casual, then be casual. Do things at a slower pace. Get less rewards from running it because you're running at a lower difficulty. It's okay to be casual. I'm not saying down with the casuals. But why is it that the casuals feel that they need to have the right to be running every single type of content? And I don't mean that like they should be excluded from running things. I mean they should be excluding from running things at a difficulty that the way that they play does not give them access to. You can run the normal raid. That doesn't mean that they need to make it easier to get in heroic. It doesn't mean that you should be able to do mythic. You should be able to do that content at the level at which the way you play allows you to. Making everything casual friendly, making everything really easy and really fast to get because they don't put in as many hours, which mind you, I find a lot of the people who say, oh, I'm casual, I don't play 24/7, I have a job. Most of us have jobs. How we allocate our time outside of our jobs is our own decision. If you decide that you only want to play a couple hours a night, which most people do, and then they consider themselves casuals when they play 20 hours a week, 25 hours a week, 30 hours a week, and they're, oh, I'm a casual. No, you play casually, but you put in the same amount of time. You just don't utilize it the same way. And then you want the game to be catered to that. Well, I put in 20 hours, and that person puts in 20 hours, but they grind those 20 hours. They run the hard stuff. They keep pushing, but I don't want to do that stuff. So could you just give me access to the same items? Is that okay? Can I level up at the same speed, even though I'm doing less? Is that okay? And the answer simply should be no. There's nothing wrong with you playing the game casually. There's nothing wrong with you putting in less hours or the same hours or more hours. Play the way you want. But the idea that then you should also be able to get the same items, you should be able to get the same power. No, you shouldn't. Because there should be that difference. Those who want to strive for it should be able to work for that. And it should take time and they should feel rewarded when they get it. It should feel good. And those who want to get it but don't want to put in as much, it should just take longer because it is going to take longer because they're not grinding as much for it. They're not putting as much effort and time and resources to gaining that thing. So then when you come across that person and they have it, you're like, wow, that's dope. I want to go get that. That person is awesome, right? You used to see people on your servers back in the day, whether it was RuneScape, World of Warcraft, EverQuest, and be like, holy crap, they have that cape? They have that weapon? They have whatever, and it meant that they accomplished something. They did something. They grinded something. They leveled a skill up, and it took tons of time and effort. We don't do that anymore. We hate that now, and then we don't like the games like we used to like the games because we've taken the effort and the time out of it. We want everything to be easy and fast, and we don't realize that we don't like that. And this extends far past just like leveling and items. We're talking about, collecting resources or building up trade skills. We want it to be faster, everything's more abundant, quicker, less effort required. So we can all be master crafters. We can all make everything. There's not like that special, oh, that dude maxed out his stuff. He can make that special item. Travel is becoming completely pointless. Every game needs to be able to just teleport you everywhere at all times, to dungeons, to random spots on the map. Every quests need to be directly next to teleports. We don't want to have to explore the world. We don't want to have to visit things. We don't want to have to see new places. And no, fast. Take away every bit of friction the game has without realizing that it makes the game less enjoyable. It makes it too fast. It takes away the world and the immersion. We don't actually want those things. We just think we do. And the other aspect is something that gets talked about a lot is whether or not like LFG or looking for group or LFR, looking for raid or all like these good things. I think another piece that's missing is the fact that we have taken out a lot of the social elements. We've made games very easy to solo play, even though the games are not necessarily created for that. They're not as enjoyable in that way. And so then people don't like them as much. Oh, I'm doing it solo. The game's not very good. Try playing it with people. Try having a sense of community. The thing about doing like LFG or LFR is that you're not actually experiencing it as intended. You're just experiencing it. You're just doing it, but not the way that it was meant to be done. Also, you're taking out that social aspect that made it more fun, the sense of community. When you played back in the day, when you did a raid or a dungeon or some sort of open world event, a lot of the time you did it with a closer, tight-knit group. The server-wide thing doesn't need to be a tight-knit group. It's hard. Look at the world. It's hard to get everybody on the same page, but it's a lot easier to get a town or a city or a state or whatever to be a little more tight-knit, to be a little more, hey, we enjoy this. We like to keep up with each other. We like to run things together, do things together, go to events together. We should be doing that. It's not as easy when it's just an LFR or an LFG. You just, hey, see, that was cool, bye. But if you're doing it in a community or a raid with your guild, then all of a sudden it's tighter knit. You start to talk to each other. You want to log in to get that social interaction, to run those things together, to do more group content. And so I think those things take away from the experience that we miss, that we want. A lot of time you can jump in and play these games now, and you're not playing them with a guild or a group anymore. You're just running them with random people. The point being that we asked for all of these things. We thought we wanted them. We thought quality of life, quality of life, quality of life. When I guess quality of life makes things too easy and too fast, all of a sudden it's like, man, that little difficulty was actually kind of nice. A little friction was actually kind of nice. You know, like it made it feel better. It separated people. It made you a little more individual in the characters. Not everybody was the same. Not everybody had the same things. Now, mind you, some of this is also simply because we got more advanced in the internet, and now there's meta this and sites for this and sites for that and parsing and simulations and everything else, which again, we did, not the developers, we did those things. So when we look at it and we're like, oh, they're not as fun, everything has to be meta, you have to be perfect, you have to be that, we're choosing to do those things. We created the simulations and the sites and the builds that you can create on the different pages. We did that. And when you combine that with everything's easier already, everything's faster already, it's just cookie cutter. It's just bam, bam, we're done. Oh, the game sucks. There's not enough content. It doesn't feel good. The reward's this. We did this. They created it, but it's because we asked for it. I don't even know why I'm saying we. It's you guys. It's not me. And I totally recognize that this was basically just one giant rant, but we've been talking about it on the stream a little bit, and it's something that I'm passionate about, and I think that it is really getting into the gaming sphere, and there's a lot of hate. Every time games come out, people just find things to hate, which I think is another thing in our society, which is negativity, and nothing is perfect, right? We'll tell a game developer, we want these 100 things, we want these 100 things, and they'll give us 100. And then the game will come out and somebody will find 101 thing that they wish, and then they didn't add this one. They only did 100, but they didn't do the 101. Oh, dude. And then everybody's up in arms and we hate them and we think the game sucks. And then they give us that and we find something else to hate. It's just one of those things. But thank you guys for watching. If you feel differently, let me know how you're wrong down in the comments below. And yeah, give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you want more MMO and RPG gaming content. And of course, you can come chat with me live. I'll put all the links down below. I stream like everywhere. So thanks for watching.